I stood there, watching my entire family walk away from me at my sister's wedding reception. My mother turned back one last time, her eyes filled with disgust. "You're dead to us," she hissed. "Don't ever contact us again." And just like that, I became an orphan at 28 years old. All because I exposed the truth about my precious sister Victoria, the golden child, the perfect daughter, the bride whose $75,000 wedding I had just ruined. But they had no idea what was coming next. None of them knew about the $50 million that would change everything. Let me back up and tell you how this all started. You're probably wondering what could possibly justify destroying your own sister's wedding and losing your entire family in the process. Trust me, by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why I did what I did, and why I don't regret it for a second. 3 years ago, I was just Victoria's awkward older sister, the family disappointment, the one who never lived up to her potential. I had a modest apartment, a decent job as a financial analyst, and was engaged to Ryan, the love of my life. We weren't rich, but we were happy. At least that's what I thought. My sister Victoria always had everything handed to her. The prettier one, the more charming one, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. When she graduated from college, they bought her a BMW. When I graduated, I got a card with $200 in it. That was our family dynamic for as long as I could remember. "You just need to apply yourself more like your sister," my mom would say. "Victoria knows how to make connections. Victoria knows how to present herself." I accepted it. I thought I was just different, not as naturally gifted as my sister. I focused on building my own life with Ryan. We had been together for 4 years and were planning a small wedding. Nothing fancy, just close friends and family at a local venue. But even that modest dream was about to be shattered. The night everything changed was when Ryan and I had my family over for dinner to discuss wedding plans. Victoria showed up with her new boyfriend, James, tall, handsome, and apparently very wealthy. The way she paraded him around, you'd think she'd caught a unicorn. "James just closed a huge deal," she announced to everyone before the appetizers were even served. "He's buying a summer house in the Hamptons." My parents were instantly captivated. My father, always impressed by money, couldn't stop asking James about his investments. My mother kept touching Victoria's arm, beaming with pride. When I tried to bring up our wedding date, my mother waved her hand dismissively. "We should probably wait until after Victoria and James get settled. Their schedules are so busy with all his business trips." I caught Ryan's eye across the table. He gave me a sad smile. We'd been together for 4 years, and Victoria had known James for barely 3 months. But wait, this story gets so much worse. You won't believe what I discovered next. 2 weeks later, Ryan was acting strange, distant, constantly on his phone. I tried to convince myself it was work stress, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. One night, he fell asleep on the couch with his phone unlocked. I had never been the type to snoop, but something felt off. I picked up his phone, and what I saw made my blood run cold. There were dozens of text messages between Ryan and Victoria. Not just casual texts, intimate ones, flirty ones, messages that made it clear they had been seeing each other behind my back. "Last night was amazing." One message from Victoria read, "James is out of town next weekend too. Can't wait to see you again." My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. My sister and my fiancé, the 2 people I trusted most in the world. I scrolled back through months of messages, uncovering a relationship that had apparently been going on for over a year. I felt like I couldn't breathe. How many family dinners had we all sat through while they exchanged secret glances? How many times had Victoria called me to check in on wedding plans while sleeping with my fiancé? But here's where things get really twisted. As I kept reading, I realized Victoria's relationship with James was completely fake. He wasn't her boyfriend. He was an actor she had hired to impress our family. The Hamptons house, the big business deals, all lies. Victoria had orchestrated this entire charade to make herself look successful while she was actually unemployed and living off our parents' money. And the most devastating part? In one message, Ryan asked Victoria, "What about your sister? When are you going to tell her about us?" Victoria's response, "Who cares? She's always been pathetic. Mom and Dad will get over it once they realize you traded up." I sat there until sunrise, reading and rereading the messages, crying until I had no tears left. The betrayal was complete. My sister, my fiancé, and based on some of the messages, my parents weren't entirely in the dark either. They had always favored Victoria, but would they really support her stealing my fiancé? I confronted Ryan the next morning. He didn't even try to deny it. "I'm sorry," he said, not meeting my eyes. "It just happened. Victoria and we connect on a different level." "A different level?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean the level where you both lie to my face every day?" He had the audacity to look offended. "It wasn't like that. We didn't want to hurt you. Get out," I whispered. "Get out now." He packed a bag while I sat at the kitchen table, numb. Before he left, he paused at the door. "Your sister and we're going to be together now. I hope someday you can be happy for us." That was the moment something broke inside me. Not just my heart, something deeper. My trust, my innocence, my willingness to be the family doormat. It was replaced by something harder, colder, and far more determined. But believe me, this story is just getting started. What I did next changed everything. Instead of confronting Victoria immediately, I decided to do some digging. If she could lie about James, what else was she hiding? I started by checking her social media accounts. Nothing unusual there, just the carefully curated image of success she always projected. Then I remembered something. Victoria had used my laptop once when hers was being repaired. She might have forgotten to log out of her accounts. I opened my laptop and checked saved passwords. Bingo. She was still logged into her email. I hesitated for a moment. This was an invasion of privacy. But after what she had done, I pushed my moral qualms aside. What I found in her email shocked me even more than the affair. Victoria had been systematically stealing from our parents for years. She had access to their investment accounts and had been siphoning off money, thousands at a time, to fund her lavish lifestyle. The fancy clothes, the luxury vacations, all paid for with money stolen from our parents' retirement fund. I found emails between Victoria and Ryan discussing how they would continue the scheme after they were married. They were planning to convince my parents to invest in a fictional business venture that would guarantee high returns. It was nothing but a scheme to steal even more money. I felt sick to my stomach. This wasn't just betrayal. It was criminal. I printed out everything. The emails about the theft, the messages between Ryan and Victoria, evidence of the fake boyfriend scheme. I had enough ammunition to destroy my sister's carefully constructed house of lies, but I needed more. The emails showed Victoria was working with someone named Marcus on an investment opportunity. I did some searching and found that Marcus was a known fraudster with a history of running Ponzi schemes. Victoria wasn't just stealing from our parents. She was involving them in potentially illegal activities. You're probably wondering why I didn't go straight to my parents with this information. The truth is, I tried. I called my mother and asked to meet with her and my father urgently. When I arrived at their house, Victoria was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with a concerned look on her face. "Ryan told me you're upset," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "He said you made some wild accusations." My parents looked at me with disappointment. They had already chosen sides without even hearing my side of the story. "Victoria says you've been under a lot of stress at work," my mother said gently. "Maybe you should see someone. Talk to a professional." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They thought I was having some kind of breakdown. When I tried to show them the emails, my father waved them away. "Your sister would never do something like that," he said firmly. "You need help, sweetheart." I left their house in a daze. My own parents didn't believe me. They would rather think I was mentally unstable than accept that their precious Victoria could be capable of such deception. That night, I received a text from Victoria. "Back off, or things will get much worse for you. No one will believe you anyway." She was right about one thing. No one in my family would believe me without irrefutable proof. And that's when I decided, if I couldn't appeal to their sense of justice, I would have to show everyone exactly who Victoria was in a way no one could deny. And that's when I remembered. Victoria had a secret iCloud account that she had once logged into on my computer when her phone was dead. An account she didn't think I knew about. I tried several passwords before I got in, and what I found there made everything else seem trivial in comparison. Photos. Dozens of them. Victoria with married men. Victoria with drugs. Victoria in compromising positions with people who definitely weren't Ryan or her fake boyfriend James. And most damning of all, photos of her with Marcus, clearly showing them discussing financial documents that looked suspiciously like my parents' investment portfolio. I had my smoking gun. But what to do with it? Going to my parents hadn't worked. Going to Victoria directly would just give her time to spin more lies. No, this required something more dramatic, something public, something that would force everyone to see the truth. Victoria and Ryan announced their engagement 2 weeks after he left me, the ultimate insult. They planned a lavish ceremony at the most expensive venue in town, no doubt funded by my parents' stolen money. The wedding was set for June 15th, just 3 months away. During those 3 months, I didn't confront anyone. I went to the bridal shower. I smiled in photos. I pretended everything was fine. Victoria looked at me with smug superiority, thinking she had won. My parents treated me like I was fragile, like I might break down at any moment. No one knew what I was planning. The day of the wedding arrived. The ceremony was beautiful. I'll give them that. Victoria looked stunning in her designer gown. Ryan looked handsome in his tuxedo. My parents beamed with pride. 200 guests watched as they exchanged vows and sealed their union with a kiss. At the reception, the MC announced it was time for speeches. As the maid of honor, a role Victoria had given me out of obligation, not love, I was expected to say a few words. I walked up to the microphone, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. "I'd like to share some photos of the happy couple," I said, pulling out my laptop and connecting it to the projector that had been set up for the reception slideshow. Victoria's face went pale. She knew. Somehow, she knew what I was about to do. The first photo appeared on the screen. Victoria and Ryan in an intimate embrace, time-stamped from 2 years ago, when I was still blissfully unaware of their betrayal. The room fell silent. "This was taken while Victoria was helping me plan my wedding to Ryan," I said calmly. "My wedding, which obviously never happened." I clicked to the next photo. Victoria withdrawing cash from an ATM, the account details clearly visible. "This is our parents' retirement account," I explained. "Victoria has been stealing from them for years." More photos followed. Victoria with Marcus, the investment fraudster. Victoria with the actor she had hired to play her fake boyfriend. Evidence of every lie, every deception, projected for all 200 wedding guests to see. The final photo was a screenshot of the text Victoria had sent me. "Back off, or things will get much worse for you. No one will believe you anyway." "I'm backing off now, Victoria," I said into the microphone. "I'm done trying to make people believe me. The evidence speaks for itself." The room erupted in chaos. Victoria was screaming. Ryan was trying to disconnect my laptop from the projector. My father was shouting for security. My mother was crying hysterically. I walked calmly through the crowd and out the door. In the parking lot, I heard someone calling my name. It was my father, his face red with fury. "How could you?" he demanded. "How could you humiliate your sister like this on her wedding day?" I looked at him in disbelief. "Did you not see the evidence? She's been stealing from you. She stole my fiancé. She's involved with criminals." He shook his head. "All I see is a jealous, vindictive woman who couldn't stand to see her sister happy." My mother appeared behind him, tears streaming down her face. "We raised you better than this," she said. "What you did in there was unforgivable." One by one, the rest of my family joined them. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all looking at me with disgust and disappointment. No one mentioned the photos. No one acknowledged the evidence. They had seen the truth with their own eyes and chosen to ignore it. "You're dead to us," my mother finally said. "Don't ever contact us again." They turned and walked back into the venue, leaving me alone in the parking lot. I got into my car and drove away, tears blurring my vision. I had lost everything. My fiancé, my family, my sense of belonging, all because I had dared to expose the truth. But here's where the story takes a turn that no one, especially not my family, could have predicted. Remember when I said I was a financial analyst? What I didn't mention was that 5 years earlier, I had made an investment that changed my life. I had put $5,000, nearly all my savings at the time, into a tech startup founded by a college friend. I didn't tell anyone about it because, frankly, my family never showed interest in my career, and I expected the investment to fail like most startups do. But it didn't fail. 2 weeks after Victoria's wedding, while I was still reeling from the loss of my family, I received an email. The startup had been acquired by Google for an astronomical sum. My $5,000 investment was now worth just over $50 million. I stared at the email for hours, unable to process what I was seeing. The numbers seemed unreal. I called my friend, the founder, to confirm it wasn't a mistake. "It's real," he assured me. "You took a chance on us when no one else would. You deserve every penny." I hung up the phone and laughed until I cried. The irony was almost too perfect. For years, I had been the family disappointment, the one who would never amount to anything compared to golden child Victoria. Now I was worth more than my entire extended family combined. The money hit my account 3 days later. I immediately hired a financial advisor and a lawyer to help me manage my newfound wealth. I bought a penthouse apartment in the city, invested a significant portion, and set up a charitable foundation focused on helping victims of financial fraud. I was careful to keep my windfall out of the news. I didn't want my family finding out about it through media coverage. I wanted to see their faces when they realized what had happened. I didn't have to wait long. About a month after the acquisition, my cousin Sophia, the only family member who had reached out to check on me after the wedding disaster, came to visit my new apartment. "Oh my God," she gasped as she stepped inside. "How can you afford this place?" I told her everything about the investment, the acquisition, the $50 million. Her eyes widened with each detail. "Your parents have no idea," she said when I finished. "They're still telling everyone you had some kind of breakdown at the wedding. Let them think what they want," I replied. "I'm done trying to make them see the truth." But Sophia couldn't keep the secret this big. Within days, the news had spread through the entire family. My phone, which had been silent for weeks, suddenly came alive with messages and calls. My mother, "Sweetheart, we've been so worried about you. Let's talk." My father, "Your mother and I think it's time to put this unfortunate incident behind us." Various aunts and uncles. "Family is everything. We should work through this together." Even Victoria reached out. "Sis, I know we've had our differences, but life's too short for grudges. Not a single apology, not one acknowledgement of what they had done. Just the sudden realization that I was now wealthy and therefore worth having in their lives again." I didn't respond to any of the messages. Instead, I had my lawyer send a cease and desist letter to Victoria and Ryan regarding the stolen funds, along with copies of all the evidence I had collected. I also sent a detailed report to my parents, showing exactly how much money Victoria had taken from them over the years. 3 days later, my parents showed up at my apartment building. The doorman called up to ask if I wanted to see them. I told him no. They came back the next day, and the day after that. On the 4th day, I finally agreed to meet them in the lobby, not in my home, just in the public space downstairs. My mother rushed toward me, arms outstretched, but I stepped back. "We've been trying to reach you," my father said, his tone a mixture of concern and irritation. "Why haven't you returned our calls?" "I was told I was dead to you," I replied calmly. "I assumed that meant you didn't want to talk to me." My mother's face crumpled. "We were upset. You have to understand. It was Victoria's wedding day." "I understand perfectly," I said. "You've always chosen Victoria, no matter what she does. She can steal from you, lie to you, involve you in potential criminal activity, and you'll still defend her." "That's not fair," my father protested. "We've always loved you both equally." I laughed. "Dad, you gave Victoria a BMW when she graduated. You gave me a card with $200. We didn't have as much money then," he said defensively. "You had exactly the same amount of money," I countered. "You just valued Victoria more." There was an uncomfortable silence. Finally, my mother spoke. "We heard about your financial situation. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. Are you proud of me, or proud of my bank account?" "That's a terrible thing to say," my father said, his face reddening. "We're your parents. You disowned me," I reminded them. "You called me dead to you because I exposed your precious Victoria for exactly who she is. Now that I'm wealthy, suddenly you want to reconcile. Do you not see how transparent that is?" My mother started crying. My father put his arm around her, glaring at me. "You've changed," he said accusingly. "Money has changed you." "No," I replied. "Your rejection changed me." I finally saw our family dynamic clearly for the first time. Victoria was always going to be the favorite, no matter what she did. I was always going to be the disappointment, no matter what I achieved. The only difference now is that I no longer care about your approval. I turned to leave, then paused. "By the way, I've set up a trust for you both. It will provide you with a comfortable monthly income for the rest of your lives. Not because you deserve it, but because unlike Victoria, I don't steal from family." The look on their faces, shock, confusion, gratitude, shame, was something I'll never forget. "Why would you do that after everything?" my father asked quietly. "Because I'm not like you," I said simply. "I don't base my love on what I can get from someone." I walked away, ignoring my mother's calls for me to come back. In the elevator up to my apartment, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. For years, I had been trying to earn their love, trying to measure up to Victoria. Now I realized I had never needed their validation in the first place. In the months that followed, I heard through family grapevine that Victoria and Ryan's marriage was falling apart. The evidence I had sent to my parents had finally forced them to confront the truth about their daughter. They had cut her off financially and were pursuing legal action to recover the stolen funds. Ryan, who had apparently only been interested in Victoria for the money he thought she had, was already seeing someone else. My parents continued to reach out periodically. Sometimes I responded, sometimes I didn't. I maintained a polite distance, unwilling to fully welcome them back into my life but not cruel enough to shut them out completely. The trust I had set up for them ensured they would never be in financial hardship, but it was structured in a way that Victoria could never access it. As for me, my life took directions I never could have imagined. I started my own investment firm, focusing on funding women entrepreneurs who had been overlooked by traditional venture capital. I traveled the world, made new friends, even started dating again. Occasionally, I would run into a family member at a restaurant or event. They would always approach with awkward smiles, trying to act as if nothing had happened. I would be polite but brief, making it clear that while I didn't harbor resentment, I also wasn't interested in pretending we were a happy family again. One day, about a year after the wedding incident, I received a letter from Victoria, not an email or a text, an actual handwritten letter. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity got the better of me. "I won't ask for your forgiveness," she had written. "What I did to you was unforgivable. I just want you to know that I understand now why you did what you did at my wedding. You were right to expose me. I was a terrible sister, a terrible daughter, and a terrible person. I'm trying to be better now. Not for Mom and Dad, not for Ryan, who left as you probably know, but for myself. I don't expect us to ever be close again, but I hope someday you might be willing to have a coffee with me. Just to talk." I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. I wasn't ready to respond yet. Maybe I never would be. But for the first time since everything had fallen apart, I felt a sense of closure. My family had abandoned me when I needed them most, choosing lies over truth, appearances over reality. The $50 million hadn't just given me financial freedom. It had shown me exactly who my family was, and more importantly, who I was without them. Some people might look at my story and see only the revenge, the public humiliation, the family torn apart, but I see something else. I see a woman who finally stood up for herself, who refused to be silenced by family loyalty or social expectations. I see someone who lost everything but found something more valuable, her own worth, independent of anyone else's validation. Do I regret exposing Victoria at her wedding? No. It was dramatic, yes. Possibly cruel, yes. But after years of being dismissed, disbelieved, and devalued, it was the only way to make the truth undeniable. The money was just the universe's way of adding poetic justice to the situation. It showed my family that their golden child was fool's gold, while the daughter they had dismissed was the real treasure all along. So if you're wondering what happened to the awkward older sister who ruined a wedding and lost her family, the answer is simple. She found herself, and she discovered that was all she ever really needed.